Up like this, and then slam. What's the matter with a broken leg? It's only 6 weeks.
I wouldn't want to gamble with my child.
One town wants helmets on the soccer field.
The wussification of America.
You call it wussification, I'm going to go ahead and call it a spiritual awakening.
Is it a spiritual awakening to sell boys vacuum cleaners?
Boys want to vacuum and iron?
If that's what speaks to them.
How strict should you be?
Your daughters were not allowed to attend a sleepover, have a play date, be in a school play, complain about not being in the play.
Hold yourself to a higher standard.
Did you know I'd not eat this marshmallow yet?
How do we teach kids to resist temptation? These kids couldn't.
Take a look at this girl. She's actually hyperventilating.
Finally, these kids play without supervision.
It's so fun just being by yourself. I like being a free-range kid.
For the next hour, we offer some better ways to help your kids grow up.
Every child in there is being watched by an adult. I understand why we want to keep them safe, but then what's going on over there in Chicago?
These kids' parents decided their kids should be allowed to do more on their own. So the kids go to this playground by themselves.
Like, parents should let kids do this. I know, right?
Left on their own for 1 to 2 hours, they look out for each other.
Are you okay, Samantha?
Without parents bossing them around, they quickly organize their own lives.
It's so fun just being by yourself and being trusted by your parents.
But what if something happens?
How quickly danger can strike a child being stalked by a predator.
We hear about cruel playground bullying, terrible accidents, kids getting lost, and above all, adults preying on kids.
750,000 registered sex offenders, and they could be living next door to you and you don't even know it.
24/7, you can turn on TV and see a kid being kidnapped, murdered.
Lenore Skenazy's a mom who's fed up with the way TV scares parents, even though kids today are actually safer than ever.
We are at a 50-year low in crime. And when I tell this to people, they're so concerned that that can't possibly be.
They don't believe it.
They don't believe it. Or they say, of course there's less crime against children because we're holding them so tight. But there's less crime against grown women, grown men, pets, cars. There's just less crime. You must accept this, but nobody does.
Skenazy pushes the idea of free-range kids.
Free-range kids like free-range chicken?
Yeah, we finally realized that, is this a life? It's just not fair. They couldn't even move their wings. Free-range parenting is a rejection of the idea that your kids can't do anything on their own.
In fact, this group of Chicago kids calls themselves the Free-Range Kids Club.
It's a good break from your parents to just be with your friends and hang out. Chill out and not have to worry about how much yogurt you eat.
More? Good. Okay.
If kids don't try to do things on their own,
Kids can't learn social skills.
Some mac and cheese for them.
They can't learn team skills. They can't learn working together skills when they're always supervised. That was the impetus to start the club.
these parents let their kids roam.
The first outing we had like 5 or 6 kids, and by the end we had too many kids. It was like 12 or 14. We were like a pack of, kids roaming the neighborhood.
Were they scared to go out on their own?
The only thing I was slightly scared of was I would be embarrassed if someone would ask me where my parents were, and I was like, I didn't want to tell them that I was by myself.
The fact that they were by themselves upset a security guard at the library.
She'd follow us, if we went upstairs, she'd go upstairs. And
so it was bizarre to her that there were children in the library looking at books and checking out books.
August 6th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
At first, the kids just had fun. But now they say that by doing this, they gained something.
You get trust from your parents. Yeah.
These kids take pride in running adult-like errands.
My parents will be like, oh, we're running late. Can you go pick up the dry cleaning? And I can walk to the dry cleaners.
It's free range for our children. Let them play freely.
Family therapist Dr. Karen Ruskin is appalled.
Drink the Kool-Aid. Why do we have to rush kids into being mini adults at 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-olds?
Because they learn, and many want to.
Oh,
they want
great.
to be on their own.
You know what? I want to smoke. I want to drive your car. Oh, free range. Okay, honey buns, you want to do that? Go. Do whatever you want. There are still real life pedophiles out there. How about the 8-year-old boy who said, "Can I walk home from camp?" The parents think it's a safe area. He can ask for help. And you know what? He asked somebody for help, what seemed to be a very lovely man. And what did that man do? That man chopped him up because we cannot allow
of course. Incident. Crime is down.
I do cite the extreme incident, but do you want to, as a parent, gamble with your child? I wouldn't want to gamble with my child.
Would you let a 9-year-old take the subway alone?
Lenore did. She let her son ride the subway along with, according to Dr. Phil,
Molesters, cyber-stalking, predators, drugs, bullies.
People called Lenore America's worst mom.
Why at 9 years old? Bad stuff does happen.
If I thought I was putting him in a dangerous situation, I wouldn't have done it. And it was his idea. Let me point out that it was not us who said, we're going to put you on the subway and we're going to make a man out of you today. It was Mom and Dad. Can I please take the subway home from someplace that I haven't been before and try to find my own way home?
Take the G train, then the J to Manhattan, 2 blocks up and 1 over. I know, Ma.
This TV show was quick to portray Lenore's choice as reckless.
The construction site where he was recovered is where he was killed.
That can happen, but 7 years after this, Lenore's son is still alive.
I live to tell the tale.
He's now 16 and proud that his mom let him grow.
Were you scared?
Not at all. I'd done it before with my parents, and it was fun. I know how to get around, and I'm confident in myself.
But you free-range parents better watch out.
A mother from Florida faces 5 years in prison for letting her 7-year-old son walk to the park alone.
I honestly didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I was letting them go play.
And this woman was arrested because she let her kids play right in front of her house. A neighbor had told the police the kids were unsupervised, but their mom was watching.
If you had looked, you would have seen me. I was visible.
Simon Arthur brought his 7-year-old to a car show, but his son didn't want to stay.
I was bored, I was hot, and I wanted to walk home.
We've walked to this shopping mall before. There's police stationed on the corners the whole way. So I said, all right, walk home.
I wasn't scared.
I keep reading about these abductions.
Yeah, it's possible to be hit by lightning or struck by a meteor too.
I wasn't very far, and the cop asked me where are my parents.
The child ended up living approximately about 1.5 miles from this location. That's a great distance for a young 7-year-old to travel by himself without water or any nourishment around with him. So we were able to charge Mr. Arthur with reckless conduct because he wasn't acting in the best interest of his child.
They put handcuffs on me, put me in the back of the police car.
This raises the question, whose child is it? The parents or the state? We all want kids protected from abuse, but don't parents get to decide if their own kids are mature enough to walk home on their own?
To think that a child, let alone parents sometimes, make really good judgments when they are in a situation that they cannot predict.
That's how they learn to make good judgments.
If a child is not at the age where they can supervise another, that they shouldn't be supervising themselves.
This attitude has built a child protection industry.
You can get money from parents by making them very nervous.
This company sells tracking devices.
If they go outside the boundary, you'll receive a text alert telling you exactly where they are.
The device is locked onto your child,
making it hard for the kids or even strangers to take the band off.
You can get something called tooth prints, which is an impression that you give your child and they bite into it. And then you have an impression, a dental impression of your child that you can keep for when they find the body and it is mangled beyond recognition.
The perception of the risk, it's all messed up. If you're concerned about risk, don't ever put your kid in a car.
Right. Driving's much more dangerous. So are swimming pools.
The risk is greater if you do not raise your children to be independent, to learn how to problem solve, to learn how to make decisions on their own.
I can hang!
The free-range kids climb trees.
There's a lot of parents who think I'm crazy. Oh my God, she might break her arm.
She might, but on their own. Kids learn to
run the risk of things. It makes you stronger in a way that's very valuable, I feel.
And if the parent is there saying that branch can't support your foot, it is not as valuable as the experience for the child of putting her foot on the branch, feeling it, ooh, I'm not sure, can that support my weight, and pulling her foot back.
What if the kid hurts himself?
Well, then they know not to do that the next time.
I'm coming down.
Even if you're a free-range parent, you still care just as much about your children.
Amy Graff writes the Mommy Files for the San Francisco Chronicle.
Parents fear when they give children freedom that they're not going to make good choices.
Yeah.
I think when you give children freedom, they actually make better choices.
And what about the risk?
The risk is so low.
I used to be kind of afraid. Then I realized there's not much to be really scared of.
Some kids have none of these experiences or even basic responsibilities. This mom will not let her 10-year-old hold a knife.
I cut up all his meat for him still.
I don't need it cut. I'm not going to choke on it.
Why? It's too huge.
The boy finally used the knife because he was a guest on Lenore's TV show and Lenore let him.
I'm using a knife, Mom.
Oh my God, what is he doing? There's this assumption now that anytime a child is unsupervised, they're in danger.
She knows how to use the burner. She knows how to use the oven. She can make pancakes better than I can. I let her completely run loose in the kitchen.
Paris's friends envy her experiences.
What do they say?
They just say, oh, that sounds so fun.
Go.
And the free-range kids say they are more confident outdoors.
You can never get lost, really. You know where everything is.
And all of them said,
I like being a free-range kid.
I like being a free-range adult. Coming up, the Tiger Mom, and the most important thing your kids need to succeed.
If I eat 100 marshmallows, I'll be filled up.
Every kid's a winner. That sounds nice, but some people call that
The wussification of America.
The wussification of America.
We are wimping down. We're wussifying American men, and it has to stop.
What's wussy about kindness?
Jen Ann Gledhill, who blogs about parenting, says what critics call wussification is just fine.
If those are the qualifications of a wuss, then Jesus was probably the biggest wuss of our time. The term wussification in itself is pretty derogatory. I think it's slightly homophobic.
One town wants helmets on the soccer field.
Youth soccer leagues may require helmets.
So what? If anything ever happened to my kid on the soccer field, I could not live with myself. You call it wussification, I'm going to go ahead and call it a spiritual awakening.
A spiritual awakening. A move to protect our kids from dangers like what this motorcyclist does. He takes his hands off the handlebars of his Harley and lets his 6-year-old steer. Now, I like risk-taking, but this makes me cringe. The boy doesn't even wear protective clothing.
Hold them under the arms, up like this, and then slam!
Other people object to what this father does.
You think you got what it takes? You think you can take your old man?
Comedian Gavin McInnes posted this video he titled, How to Fight a Baby.
13 million people have watched this.
Yeah, it's a hilarious video.
It's not that funny.
It's that funny.
It must have struck a chord.
Yes, and when they see someone, brazenly whipping their kid around, they go, that's what I do. Studies have shown time and time again that children benefit from roughhousing. It's exercise, it's exhilarating, you're physically bonding with your child, and I can see with my own eyes as a parent, I see them benefit from this. And when you tell them to be scared and don't roughhouse and stand back and don't touch, you create an environment of fear.
I don't find this funny. I don't think that fighting a baby is a laughing matter.
Some experts were quick to call Gavin a bad parent.
Shaken baby syndrome happens exactly like this.
Gavin put his hands around the baby's neck. I don't find this funny.
Just because something can arguably lead to something serious doesn't mean we have to avoid it. And in fact, living that kind of life where you say, children avoid this, children avoid that, you're teaching a child to be scared of the universe.
In Regina Beach, Canada, a kid broke his leg playing in a tree. People demanded the trees be cut down.
What's the matter with a broken leg? It's only 6 weeks. Pretty girls sign your cast.
Here's his own son with his arm in a cast. His big sister pushed him off the slide.
My heart swells with pride if my son has a cast on.
But they're little kids. We want to protect them.
That's true of babies. When they start to become little people, you have to teach them about the real world, because if you don't do it, reality's going to do it.
But now in America, we even protect older kids from disappointment by giving every child a trophy.
I'm proud of him, real proud of him. When I was a kid, trophies had meaning. You only got one of these things if you were good at something. But these days, kids get trophies for participating. In my kids' soccer league, everybody got a trophy.
I'm sorry.
And they seemed happy.
Parenting author Ashley Merriman argues that giving everyone a prize is bad for kids.
I'm told it's good to praise kids, make them feel good about themselves.
The research has actually found the opposite, that when kids are told they're wonderful, they are worried that the next time they try something, they'll screw up.
40 years ago, the trendy idea in child raising was self-esteem. California started a self-esteem task force, here mocked by a cartoonist. The first agenda, make sure everyone on the committee feels good about themselves. The self-esteem movement was influential. Parents were told, avoid competition. Competition's bad. But now the research is in. Boosting self-esteem may be counterproductive. It does not improve academic performance.
Kids with low self-esteem who get this overinflated praise, overinflated encouragement, become more reticent to try things in the future. They avoid challenges instead of go in front of them.
She says that's why trophies for all is a bad idea.
I've heard of kids who got so upset at soccer award ceremonies about getting participation trophies, they dumped them into the trash can and set them on fire.
Because they knew participation trophies are bunk?
They were insulted. He knows that trophy was pity, and it's embarrassing to him.
What about the self-esteem of the kid who isn't as good?
You're not as good. Sorry.
That hurts.
Yeah.
I'm not as good?
You're not as good. You're not as handsome as Brad Pitt. You're not as intelligent as that dude who can do pi to 3,000 decimal places. Sorry, there is a hierarchy of meritocracy in the world, and the best thing you can do is accept that and move on.
Parents tell me, well, my kid worked really hard. They went to practice every week. I say, they didn't go to practice every week. You drove them, right?
Of course, makers of trophies want more kids to get trophies.
I used to joke that there was a trophy industrial complex, and then I found out it's a $3 billion a year industry.
The trophy industrial complex?
That's what I call it.
And that's what it is. They have lobbyists like the Awards and Recognition Association that say things like,
we really need to start encouraging parents to buy trophies every time their kid reads a book.
If you give a trophy to everybody, the trophy doesn't mean anything.
We don't know what the trophy means to the child.
Janann still holds on to a trophy she got when she was a kid.
You don't know what this means to me.
What does this mean to you?
It just meant I showed up and I finished something and I accomplished something and it said I was funny, John.
Strike three, you're out of there!
Sounds like this movie where Billy Crystal can't believe the way his grandkids are being protected.
Tom!
It's okay. This is my dad and he's new here.
There are no outs in this game.
No outs? How do you even know who's winning?
In this league, we don't keep score. Every game ends in a tie.
Sure enough, many kids' sports leagues now ban keeping score.
Turns out the kids keep score secretly anyway?
Oh, I don't even think it's a secret. By 4 or 5, they know exactly who is the best reader in the class, who's the best athlete, who's the best drawing. They know about differences in ability, and it's confusing to them when we pretend that there aren't any.
Here, look at mine, see?
Oh, Dad, we don't really worry about lines.
Billy Crystal tells his grandson, color between the lines.
You know, what's the point of having lines if you're just gonna...
Artie.
Oh. That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. It's very avant-garde.
Picasso.
Exactly.
I don't see why kids must color within the lines, but what does calling them Picasso do to kids?
I've peaked. I can't top the best picture ever.
Studies show American kids do have high self-esteem. They rank number 1 in self-esteem for math, but they rank 27th in performance.
American kids think they're doing so well when they're doing badly.
How about you acknowledge what they did do well? What about the kid who is bad? What about the one who actually really gave it a good shot and wasn't good? And they know it.
You don't give them a trophy.
You can give them a ribbon. Maybe the person who deserves the ribbon the least needs it the most. We're talking about kids, you know?
There's nothing better for a kid than to learn how to lose. That's what childhood is all about, making mistakes, learning to lose, learning to fail.
And then, I hope, succeeding. Next, parents who push gender-neutral parenting.
He asks us, am I a boy or a girl? And I ask him, well, do you feel more like a boy or more like a girl?
Michael Cohn looks like a boy's boy, but his mom says
He loves to draw. He loves music.
Michael's mom and their friends make a concerted effort to parent their kids in a gender-neutral way.
Among my friends, I don't think anyone would ever say that they're not gender neutral.
We always offer dolls and along with the trucks and the balls. The dolls and things, bring out nurturing.
We asked their boys.
Do any of the guys like dolls?
I saw the stuffed animals are kind of like dolls.
Some families now give their kids gender-neutral names so the kids can make up their own minds.
The baby's name is Storm, what they're calling gender-free.
So there's gender-free, there's gender-neutral, there's transgendered. More?
Yes, we've got gender fluid, gender creative, gender independent.
Education professor Elizabeth Myers teaches teachers don't treat kids as boys or girls. She raises her own son that way.
He asks us, am I a boy or a girl? And I ask him, well, do you feel more like a boy or more like a girl? And he says, I feel like a boy. It's like, okay, well, then we're going to call you a boy unless at any point you feel like something different.
And how is this parenting working out?
We were at the playground, and he said, Mama, this playground is for everybody. Boys can play, girls can play, transgender kids, and kids who don't feel like a boy or a girl can play.
He sounds like he's living propaganda. Garbage that you've indoctrinated him with.
I know some people would say that.
Dr. Leonard Sachs says it.
But the great mistake that Dr. Meyer and others are making is the notion that in order to ensure equal opportunity, we have to put our heads in the sand and pretend that gender doesn't matter.
She asks her son, do you feel more like a boy or a girl? And she says, this is how gender should be established.
The unintended message that the boys and girls are hearing is that, hey, the grown-ups are on another planet. They have no idea what actually matters to us. The result is gender-confused kids.
Isn't this confusing for the kids?
Absolutely not. They know who they are, and they're going to tell you who they are.
Assuming, she says, that they don't get manipulated by our sexist society.
Media messages, movies.
He likes her.
Kind of what our parents taught us, and so we internalize these norms and we think that that's just how it should be. It's not something that is biological or predetermined.
But it is biological. Most boys do like the more active, violent sports.
There are average tendencies, but that doesn't mean most.
Aren't most boys different from most girls?
I would disagree.
I once believed that, but then I had kids. My wife didn't allow my son to have toy guns.
He made guns out of carrots.
It's true, and my son likes to turn just about everything into a gun or a shooting mechanism, no matter how hard I try to discourage it.
Don't discourage it, says Dr. Sachs.
If the son jumps up from behind the couch and says, bang, bang, you're dead, and the mom reprimands him, and the mom says, well, I love you, but I wish you weren't so into the violent games. And the result is not a generation of boys who want to engage in scrapbooking. The result is boys who are looking to the internet and getting their ideas of masculinity from that.
Which is probably not a good thing, given what's on the internet. To reduce the influence of sexist culture, Sweden now pushes toy ads that are gender neutral. Girls play with guns, and boys happily iron clothing.
Boys want to vacuum and iron, and
if that's what speaks to them as fun and entertaining.
Councilwoman Abby Land is proposing to make all single-stall restrooms gender neutral.
The latest trend in Hollywood and on college campuses is to get rid of the boy-girl label. But science shows most people are not gender neutral.
What happens when you ask girls and boys to draw whatever they want? Girls draw people, pets, flowers, and trees. The people have eyes, mouth, hair, and clothes.
It doesn't matter where the girl is from. This test has been done in America, Africa, Thailand, Japan. The results are similar. Here's a Japanese girl's picture and an American girl's. But
the great majority of boys are drawing something profoundly different. They're trying to draw a scene of action. They sometimes just look like a bunch of squiggles because it's action.
Maybe they draw differently because they've been exposed to sexist parents and sexist society that leads them to do this.
That's exactly what I learned when I was earning my PhD in psychology 30 years ago. And then researchers got the bright idea of giving the same choice to monkeys. We've got 3 different studies now. Human, chimpanzee, or monkey. The males want to play with the truck. Why? Because it's got wheels. It goes kaboom.
Movement.
Movement, action. Girl monkeys prefer to play with the colorful plush doll. So these differences are clearly hardwired, not socially constructed, because they're found in 4 primate species.
Yet feminist professors still teach students gender differences are exaggerated.
Some of this is just anti-science propaganda from you people in teachers' colleges.
Gender differences are actually quite small.
All social is not biological innate wishes?
Some people feel that these approaches are extreme because they're very uncomfortable with them. It shakes their worldview.
Yeah, it shakes mine because I think it's mostly wrong. Next, a woman who says more moms should be as tough as my mom was. And for that, people say things like,
She is the worst person ever born.
a few years ago, a mom wrote a parenting book that freaked out a lot of people.
Extreme parenting.
They were upset about the woman who called herself Tiger Mom.
The surprising details of her strict parenting methods causing quite a controversy.
Controversy because of her strict rules.
Your daughters were not allowed to attend a sleepover, have a play date, be in a school play, complain about not being in the play, watch TV or play computer games.
Right.
This seems mean.
I don't think so at all. I think the message is, I believe in you. You are capable of so much more than you realize. And if you just stop whining and, don't give up and don't make excuses, you can do anything you want in your life.
To teach her 2 daughters that, she forced them to practice violin and piano for hours.
Kids have to practice 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. And I think for a lot of normal American parents, that's inconceivable.
Her kids excel. Here they are at ages 11 and 14, performing at a grown-up concert. One daughter also excelled in tennis, and at school, the other made valedictorian. But the Tiger Mom's book got lots of criticism. She doesn't let kids make their own decisions.
A manual for parents who want to systematically weed out any genuine interest or passion for life.
The dream is you just give the child a clarinet and amazing jazz pops out. Or you give the child a piece of paper and, string theory will come out. But before you can invent string theory or invent the theory of relativity, you need to be able to multiply really well.
Like, where's childhood?
Yes, we want our children to be happy, but it's not the secret to happiness to say, do whatever you want, just enjoy yourself.
You called your daughter garbage once.
And I mentioned this at a dinner party, and several people walked out.
Yeah, I would think so. You're just destroying your child's spirit.
To me, the message is, you know what? I think you're better than that. I think you should hold yourself to a higher standard. And honestly, I think, parents these days, they're so terrified of making their children feel bad.
Yes, maybe for good reason. Everyone knows Asians are more likely to commit suicide. Except what everyone knows is wrong.
Asian Americans actually have among the lowest suicide rates of any group.
It's true. The Asian suicide rate is half that of the general population. Maybe Tiger Moms are better at instilling self-esteem.
You can tell your child, you're amazing all you want, but that doesn't instill true confidence. True self-esteem has to be earned.
Amy says Asian parents are more likely to be Tiger Moms, and that's why Asian Americans get better grades and have higher average incomes. Now, in her new book, The Triple Package, Amy and her husband argue any parent can do it, but certain immigrant groups, Jews, Cubans, Nigerians, and others, are more likely to instill values in kids that lead to success.
Tiger Mom is back with a despicable new theory about racial superiority.
It is racism.
It seems to be racially charged.
She is the worst person ever born.
It's not race and genetic. We say the opposite. We say, look, if you look at America, the most successful groups include all races.
So please welcome Kudiratu Kudi Usman.
Nigerian Americans are an amazing example. Less than 1% of America's black population. They made up a quarter of Harvard Business School's black students. It's something about culture and how they're raised and expectations.
You know the secret of success. It's 3 things.
The first is a sense of exceptionality. We call it a superiority complex. The second element, which is a dash of insecurity. I'm not quite good enough yet. I shouldn't just sit back.
It's contradictory. Superiority complex, insecurity.
Steve Jobs is a perfect example. He had such a superiority complex, but all of his friends also described him as deeply insecure. I think that's what creates this kind of chip on the shoulder, this goading feeling like I need to show everybody, I need to prove myself. The third element of the triple package is impulse control.
Can your child sit still and concentrate on things that won't bring rewards for years?
Chinese immigrant parents force their preschool children to do 1 hour a day on average of a focused activity. That could be reading, drawing, but doing something with no distractions. 1 hour on average a day compared to just 6 minutes a day for Americans on average.
But does this obedient sitting and drilling kill the creativity that leads to real innovation? Those American tech entrepreneurs who've invented so many cool things. I hear many are college dropouts, not studious kids raised by tiger moms.
I look at all the innovation we've seen in America, Facebook and Google. These are not kids who were drilled. These are not kids raised by tiger moms. You're programming the kids.
You know, actually, if you look at Silicon Valley, a hugely disproportionate percentage of the innovators and startup founders are actually immigrants and immigrants' children and triple package groups.
Sergey Brin co-founded Google, Steve Chen, YouTube, Jerry Yang, Yahoo.
It's the parents' job to give them the tools, to give your children the ability to focus on something so that when they can find their passion, they can do something with it.
You had nasty fights with the girls.
Incredibly nasty, especially with my younger daughter. She refused to do it and she was stomping off, and I said, get back to the piano. And at one point my husband said, you know what, maybe she just can't do it. And I said, you know what, you just don't believe in her. I'm gonna do this. We drilled and it wasn't that pleasant, but then suddenly, after like an hour and a half, her two hands came together. She realized it at the same time that I did, and after that, Lulu refused to leave the piano. And years afterward, she told me, Mommy, I remember that moment. And I think that's a life lesson that lasts forever. I think that's how you instill real confidence.
Your daughters like you?
I think they love me.
They now say, thanks, Mom, I'm glad you did this stuff?
Actually, you'd be surprised.
Would we? We'll find out when we return.
What's the biggest predictor of success in life? Brains, rich parents, good looks? None of those, say the experts. The biggest predictor is, can you delay gratification?
All right, here's the deal. Marshmallow for you. You can either wait, and I'll give you another one if you wait, or you can eat it now.
It smells yummy. It smells really good.
So can he stand to wait to eat it? This is an experiment that's been tried in many forms with many kids, but the idea is always the same. Test whether a child will eat the candy now or get twice as much if he can wait 15 minutes. As you see here, most kids cannot wait. Only about a third were able to delay, often distracting themselves by looking away. But about a third were able to wait 15 minutes.
How'd you do?
And earn the extra candy.
You wanted to eat it, didn't you? Yeah. So did I tell you to give you another one? Okay, now you can have both.
The first group of kids who took this test 40 years ago were followed and tested years later.
The kids who didn't eat marshmallows had SAT scores 200 points higher.
213 points higher on average. They were happier, healthier.
The kids who successfully delayed gratification at this age do much better later in life. Not just better in school, but they make more money. They are happier. They have better relationships, and they're less likely to get into trouble.
But the kids who ate the marshmallows, many of them were in trouble.
Yes.
Joaquim de Posada replicated the marshmallow experiment in South America. The kids behaved the same way North American kids did.
Take a look at this girl. She's actually hyperventilating. She wants the marshmallow badly. They're playing mind games in order not to eat the marshmallow.
Most gave in.
That kid could not wait not even 10 seconds.
This doesn't mean that he'll fail in life, but the researchers say it does mean he's more likely to struggle. So, since the data show the ability to delay gratification is really important.
So how do you teach this to kids?
You teach them skills that will take them to a position where they know that they have to work hard and persevere in order to get whatever they want to get in life.
We all have marshmallows that we want now, but some of us have learned to wait.
Susan Merrill runs the parenting advice website iMom.
When your kids wanted things, you told them you save up for it.
They each had 3 sets of clear jars, share, save, spend. You want to buy something, save your money, it's yours.
And seeing the money in the jars reminded them to wait.
It's really good for them to see that money grow. They get into it. How much have you saved? I've saved this much.
It doesn't need to be money.
Prizes, privileges, or praise.
When her kids really wanted something, they could have it, but only after they spent a while doing something that was hard for them.
Megan was potty training. She wanted this Ariel mermaid doll. So throw in the prize, the doll. Put it up on the piano. Megan, 3 days staying dry, and you're going to get that doll. Boom. She did it. She knew success. You can do this.
She could look at the doll.
But she couldn't have it.
What if the child demands a doll now and throws a fit? It's important not to give in to a tantrum. Giving in teaches kids the opposite of delayed gratification. This commercial offers a clever take on it. The boy wants a bag of chips right now. Instead of giving in, Mom imitates it.
She looks at him like, no. He's embarrassed. He puts the chips back, and that's the end of that.
What's the moral?
You really, really can work with your kids. I think sometimes parents are just too busy to be consistent, or they're too fearful that their child is not going to like them.
Also,
lead by example, because it's not what you teach, it's how they see you behave. You have to teach a child that they should save money for the rainy day, so they have to see you save money. Okay? Kids have to see you do whatever you want them to do.
Finally, kids will only learn to wait if they see that delaying gratification leads to something good. Parents must follow through, do what they say.
This means that you have to keep promises.
If parents don't keep promises, kids are less able to wait for a reward. In this version of the marshmallow test, researchers first promised kids,
if you can wait for me to go get some from the other room, you can use our big set of art supplies instead.
But then they break their promise.
Well, listen, I'm so sorry, but I actually don't have that big set of art supplies I told you about.
Once the promise was broken, kids were much more likely to eat the marshmallow.
If I eat 100 marshmallows, I'll be filled.
His trust in the adult message, if you delay gratification, you'll get something better, had been broken.
If a parent is not consistent, then the child will not trust that they will get what is promised. We do this as moms all the time. We say, in a minute. Mom, will you come play with me? In a minute. And so we're really teaching our children that we don't always mean what we say.
The bottom line, tell kids the truth. Teach them the benefits of waiting when they're young.
Did you know I'd not ate this marshmallow yet?
And reward them when they do wait.
3 marshmallows.
3 of them.
Coming up, if you're tough on your kids, will they hate you? If you push your kids, won't they hate you? I bet the Tiger Mom's children won't Tiger Mom their kids.
I'll totally Tiger Mom my kids.
Her younger sister was a little less enthusiastic.
It definitely had its ups and downs. I remember being pulled out of school to practice hours a day, and of course, I'm, a 12-year-old kid. I'm gonna say, why do I have to do this? But looking back on it, I couldn't be happier.
She just began her freshman year at, where else? Harvard. Her older sister goes here too.
Oh, I totally love being raised by my mom. She's awesome.
Now, Sophia plans to join the military.
7, 8.
She already meets the Army's basic standards, but she wants to get the top score, so she works out often.
As a girl, it's important not just to meet the standard, but to kind of exceed it. 7, 8.
Kids raised by regular parents, she says, don't have the drive.
Going to college was just seeing how many, amazing, brilliant people would encounter an obstacle and just be like, I can't do this. And I can't do this is genuinely a feeling that I have never had. I have what it takes to do, absolutely anything.
Most of us hope our kids have that feeling. Some of it just exists in human nature if we adults don't crush it. As these commercials suggest, babies want to test themselves. Even if they fall, they try and try again. Many parents want to protect them from falling, but protection has a downside.
When you create an environment free of risk, what you're doing is leaving a child vulnerable.
Because being able to fall and recover is useful in life.
I work with young people today, and when they hit conflict, they have a meltdown. And I'm being
Because
literal.
they've been protected as babies?
Yes. If you fire someone who's 22 today, it was not unusual for her to, or him, to trash the place screaming and then have their parents call. They've been pampered their whole lives. And the sad reality of the world is you get slapped in the face all the time. You gotta get tough.
Not too tough, but enough freedom to let them learn on their own helps them grow up. That's our show. Thanks for watching.